working from home with obviously the same hours and better pay and similar benefits. I wouldn't say they're as good as the counties, but the offsetting salaries probably making up that difference. And plus, they're working from home. They can stay home with their family and.
That's hard. That's tough to compete with.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that, those positions are out there now because of COVID. I mean, everybody's created these at-home positions or this and that, or travel contracts where nurses are making, $70, $80, $100 an hour.
Because their conditions are a little.
Oh yeah, they're definitely working harder for it, but you can do that for a few years if you said.
Well, I don't know. Is there any other questions? I guess. So those dollars, Sandy, do you have something prepared then, or do you want?
I made the amendment to the salary ordinance just for 2022. The biweekly amount, $1,627.50. I put on here that the grant cycle is from July to June. And then in 2022, there'll be 12 payrolls. In 2023, there will be 14 payrolls, and the amount will be determined during the 2023 budget process.
Makes sense. Does anyone want to make it? We don't have any more discussion. You want to make a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Shomei made a motion. May I have a second?
Sorry.
Alex seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that's approved.
All right, that's all I got. Unless you guys have any more questions for me.
Okay.
Has your advisory board met or anything to discuss some of those issues that are coming up for the budget?
We just had a board meeting a few Mondays ago, and they did discuss. They approved my budget, but now I have to bring them obviously to Sandy and to you guys for approval. I don't necessarily know if you'll make over those tonight.
Right. No, I just.
Yeah, they did meet and discuss, and they have their input, and I'm kind of working on justifications and stuff like that right now. So, yeah.
Okay, so.
Is that all we got?
Yeah, I appreciate
All right.
you coming in and taking the time to come in. Thanks.
All right, appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Looks like it's about 4:40, so Gary, can you introduce yourself to the public?
I'm Gary Sal with Weights and Measures. I think it's been 2 years since I've come and said hi. Anyway, I don't know if how many other county employees use personal vehicles for work. I'm here to ask if you will at least review the mileage reimbursement for the new budget. Right now, it's currently 44 cents a mile. And I think it needs to be increased. But just look at it for the budget, or can I add to it and put it in my 2023 budget?
I think what we're going to do, that's later on in the agenda of our discussions tonight.
Okay,
It's coincidental that you came in, but I know the state had just raised their rate, and we kind of, in the past, have tried to follow the state of Indiana. So we will be looking at that, and I think
Okay.
well,
I'm just here to say, just look at it.
and it's been in discussions for probably a month now since this fuel costs have gone up so much. So I'd really rather not do it.
No,
But I think Sandy can tell you.
I don't need anything, I'm not asking you to do it today. For the 2023 budget, just look at it.
Sure.
Okay. With that being said, I spent the day with the state inspector. They're asking if we can start doing fuel analysis. They trained me today on fuel analysis.
Can you educate us on that?
For what I know, yeah. Basically, when you buy fuel, you're buying 97 octane, you're getting 97 octane. You're not getting less, you're not getting more. We went around to 4 different stations randomly, checking stations. Every one of the stations passed. Based on what I see with the stations now, all our fuel stations in the county, I don't know or could think of anybody who's not doing the right thing. Because all the stations always check out right. And if they're wrong, they don't know. And it's fixed immediately. I mean, within 2 days. And they'll shut the pump off where no one can use it till it's fixed. Then they call me back, I recheck it, it's fixed, everything's good. But the state says they want us to start randomly doing fuel analysis. With that being said, these machines are not cheap. They're about $4,000. They cannot make us, as the county, do it. They want us to, because we gotta pay for the equipment. They can't mandate that we do it. They want us to start, so I'm bringing it up to you. Do you want me to look into it to see what it would cost? Or do you want me to let it go?
I have a couple questions.
You go ahead.
With
So who did it in the past?
the state.
Okay.
The state came in today. I didn't know they were coming. They called me at 10 o'clock and said, we're in St. Anthony, get over here. Oh, okay. And we did fuel analysis over there. We went out to 2 stations here in town and 1 in Huntingburg.
Will the state pay for the equipment?
No.
I mean, if they're asking us to do it,
No,
would they provide us with the equipment to do it?
No. But they're asking us to do it. They're not telling us we have to. We don't have to do it. But it's gonna come down, according to the inspectors, one of these days where you're gonna start doing it. So I don't know if we're ahead of the game. I'm just bringing it up to you. Should I look into it? Should I let it go? It takes about, I'm gonna guess, 45 minutes per station. I have time to do it.
Do you?
I would do it when I'm doing all the other checks. It's not gonna,
The quantities, you check it when you're doing it.
yeah, and I don't check every pump.
Okay.
All I do is do, because it all comes from the same place, I check one pump. So it's not, time-wise, the problem is the cost of the machine.
Yeah.
Now, whether we want to do that, that's not my call.
I would have to tend to think, first of all, it'd be a commissioner's thing if they want you to do it.
Okay,
And then if personally, I would like for you to get quote on the machine so we could, so we can know how to move forward if it's $4,000 or, because if they would say, yes, we ought to really be checking this for the public.
all right.
I think, but don't you agree that, I think that's more they do, county commissioners to decide if they want to make you do that. or-
What they want me to do is, then I'm gonna put it in, for right now, I'll put it in my budget. Whether we do it or not is another story. We'll know next commissioners meeting. I'll ask them again.
Since fuel is such a,
Oh, it's a,
it's a well-spoken thing right now. It's probably good, that somebody doesn't think they're, because a lot of cars take premium fuel
right.
or even the regular.
But remember this though, around in this county, I don't think we really have to be concerned what you're getting.
I agree.
I mean, in other places, they need to be, but around, it's not,
Because
I'm not concerned.
a lot of our fuel comes from the same suppliers. Maybe some of the out of town ones may not.
Well, there's a lot, it's not so much the supplier as, I don't have any problems with any of the stations I deal with.
Can you educate me? I mean, my understanding is each octane has a separate tank, underground tank.
Each op, yeah, They're sold separate. The only one that's not is mid-grade. Mid-grade blends premium and regular together.
Okay.
But when you buy regular gas, you're getting it from tank A. You buy premium, you're getting it from B. Or now you're seeing more racing fuel. You're seeing, what is it, 100 octane for small engines, lawnmowers, power saws and such.
Okay.
Those are separate.
Okay.
And that's what they're saying, that needs to be checked more than anything. Or are you actually getting that high grade fuel you're paying 80, 90 cents a gallon more for?
Right.
What's being added to it? If it's not? Is something being added to it?
Being added to the fuel to
Yes, to
do,
make it not 97?
it's just a lower grade
Just a
fuel.
lower.
It's
fuel.
just lower grade that it shouldn't be.
They don't want the public getting ripped off, saying that
Right.
they're buying.
But if it's not coming like that from the seller or from their supplier, how is it?
They don't, that's the store, wherever you normally buy your
Right.
fuel, they don't know what kind of fuel they're getting.
Right.
They know that, they think they're buying a truckload of 97. They don't have any idea.
So their supplier could be,
That's right.
okay, when
Yeah,
you said
so
supplier, I
so the
thought
station-
it was-
The stations themselves are not doing anything to the
Okay.
fuel to doctor it, to make it worse, make it better. No, they're not doing anything to
It would be from their
it.
supplier.
It would be from their supplier. And a lot of these stations have different suppliers, even though it's one name of fuel. I mean, if you're ever around it, if you notice the trucks going there, it's all coming from one place. Different trucks, but it's all fuel's fuel. So if you want me to,
Is everyone okay with him doing that, or we don't need a motion or anything, do we?
now, I'm not gonna do anything but get a price on it. And I'll go to the commissioners and ask if they want me to do it.
And then we got a few more minutes. Can you quickly go through all you check? I think it's.
What I do?
Well.
Every retail scale in the county, I check once a year. Unless I get a complaint. If I get a complaint on that scale from whoever it is, I have 24 hours to get into that scale and recheck it. If it's wrong, I can shut it down. I can, in a grocery store, I can shut that lane down and no one uses that lane. I've never had to shut a lane down yet. I found a lot of them wrong, but within hours they're fixed. So I don't want to shut them down because they don't think it's funny.
Right.
I was with the state inspector one day when they shut a station down. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. I've told guys, I'm not shutting their station down. Not gonna happen. All the gas pumps are checked once a year. Here in the past 6 months, I probably get 8 to 10 complaints a week. Not on the fuel itself, on the cost. There's no way it can be accurate. I did not put that much gas in my car. It can't cost that much. Well, it does. But I have to go check and redo that pump. I don't check any pumps unless I get a name, whoever it is calling me, and tell me what pump it was. Then I gotta get back to them and tell them it's accurate. So I check all the gas pumps, do all the pharmacies, all the scales in the pharmacy. Any retail scale has to be checked once a year. Now, I do a lot of what we call miscellaneous that don't have to be checked, but they're checked because they like it. The schools, the doctor's offices. Some doctor's offices want theirs checked, some don't. I can't, Farbest, for example, theirs are checked. You must have 50 scales in there. Theirs are checked a couple times a year. That's what they want. But I don't check their scales. They have companies that come in and check their scales for them. I just oversee it to make sure they're right. So all the scales, I mean, it's,
Busy job, it sounds like to me.
So Gary, do you find that, the complaints you get are the same people by chance? You know, is it,
other than one, yeah,
okay.
there's one person. But most of them are different.
So you,
A lot of them are from out of town. And it's only because of fuel price. I mean, the pumps are high, I know they are, but I have to go check and report back to them. I have, for instance, I have one person that complains every month. She goes to the same pump, same station, same problem every month. But she won't go to another pump. It's her habit, that's where she goes. I said, well, it's right. I've met her there and checked it there. You know, it's just something you do.
Well, thanks for taking the time, and explaining it to us and, you know.
So every scale you see, you know, like, I'm sure on the gas stations, you see the stickers. You know, we're 95% done for the year on gas stations. And the bigger ones, they're done. Some of the smaller ones are still coming up. So, all run by the commissioners, see the scrutiny, I'll put it in the budget.
Thanks.
Yes.
Have a good evening. Yeah, you too. Okay, I think next, Jenny, you want to come up and introduce yourself?
I do. I'm Jennifer Lambert, Chief Probation Officer from DuBois County. And I had sent an email out last week that included a quote for a new copy printer for our probation department. Did everybody get that? I brought extra copies of the quote. If
I'll take
anyone
one. I like paper copies.
That's no problem, we're having.
If you want,
Does anybody else want?
if you have trouble making them, like, I'll
Sure, anybody else? I brought
This
plenty.
is the June 10th, I copied it and sent out. Okay, I got it.
Got it? You want one? So what we're running into is our copy printer is about a little over 8 years old. We've ran over 500,000 copies on that. Our department is the one that seems to be the paper department. We give the probationers the actual copies of their orders. We have to print off copies of those for them, their pre-sentence investigation reports. A lot of paperless is going on now, except in our department. You know, where we can, we do, but it's our responsibility to make sure they have a physical copy of that. We are having a lot of issues. It continually breaks down. Hoosier Business was there and said it's time to look at replacing it. The drum has gone out twice. Right now it's kind of pieced back together. The drawer that we put the paper in, we can only put paper in one side in a limited amount. And about every third paper that prints, it beeps at us. So we pull the drawer out and put it back in, and then I start working again. And they can't fix it. He said, yeah, it's been interesting for sure. So I went to the commissioners. They did approve for us to get a new copy printer machine. So I'm here today to ask to have that amount, which is $7,415. Advertised and then approved at the next meeting is my understanding, because it was too late to get it on the previous month.
Does Hoosier Business have it available?
They do. At this point, they did.
So you won't have to wait 9 months.
Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on when we get it ordered. He had said something about putting one back for us, and I said, no, wait till we get official approval. I didn't want him to do that, but I can call him if it is approved and let him know. And go from there.
Well, the problem is, we can't do it until July.
Right, officially approve it.
I couldn't advertise it, it was too late. We had already on the press when she came to me with it.
I mean, unless you could say, hey, I'll put it back.
Yeah. I think so, if it's approved tonight to advertise to advertise this month to approve it in July, I guess would be the request.
Danny, can you clarify something on the maintenance? And I know this was discussed at the
It was, yes.
commissioners meeting, but how could a color copy be 7 cents and a black and white? Oh, that's 0.07.
It's
Oh,
0.007.
Okay,
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is right now on our machine, we're paying, I believe he said 1.25 cents per black and white copy. And by going to the new machine, we're going to 0.007 because it's that more efficient with the ink.
okay,
And also the ink and the toner will be included in this new maintenance agreement.
okay. That makes sense.
I guess as long as the maintenance agreement is in place, I don't know that question. How long, do you know on yours, Sandy? You have a similar agreement?
All I know is, when ours gets low, he brings up a new one. The machine sends him some kind of notice that it's time.
But how long that
I don't
agreement would be in place?
That I don't
That's a good question.
It's under the life of the machine.
I would think so, since it's not clarified, but
So are we
I can-
paying the end of what we're doing for the cost?
But you know, even home printers are doing that, you know, they will charge you so much a month, and they'll send you the ink, instead of you going to Walmart or some business store to get it, that's probably pretty common.
yeah. And our intent with the color is only utilizing it like when we have mug shots where it makes a difference, like on the hair color, eye color. And when our individuals complete programming, we want to give them a nice certificate. So those, it will be limited and it will be programmed to default to print black and white.
We do that. Ours is defaulted to black and white, and if you want color, you have to go in and set the,
That would be my intent.
Okay, any other questions of any or discussions? Otherwise, I guess I'll entertain a motion to approve the
it's consensus to advertise.
board consensus. I'm
Sorry.
So all in favor? So it's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Do I need to come back next month and ask to have it approved at that point?
Unless somebody would object, then wouldn't they?
Normally I would, like tonight, I've got some for the highway and stuff that they asked before, and now I'm.
Okay.
Okay, Jenny, thank you.
I will,
Thank you. Have a good evening.
I won't be here next month, so
Okay.
I won't be here next month, but I'll leave notes
Okay.
tomorrow.
It should be. Okay. So we're running pretty close to time, so, Bennett?
Yes.
Bennett Fusion?
Houston.
Fusion? Sorry.
How are you?
So we're on YouTube Live, so if you could
Yeah.
introduce yourself and your company.
Well, I will say long-time listener, first-time caller, big fan of the live stream. My name is Bennett Fusen. I oversee government affairs and community outreach for EDP Renewables here in Indiana. I know a couple of my colleagues, Sarah Greenberg and Jennifer Lozana, had the opportunity to meet with a handful of you last week, and Councilor Holt's good to see you again. We've been, working to reach out to the county. But Sarah, let me know that you had a couple great conversations over the past couple of weeks and a couple of questions still about some of the economic pieces for these projects. So I wanted to come and introduce myself, kind of open the dialogue, make sure we had the chance to engage a little bit, and then just speak a little bit briefly about the project we're intending to build down here and some of the economic components of that. And I will apologize, I had a printing error as I was coming down here. So I have a PowerPoint I'll share with the auditor and then with you as well to make sure that information is distributed. But sorry, I didn't get the handouts right.
Before you get started,
Of course.
we have to realize here, some of us, I think we spoke with Sarah and Jennifer
Yes.
a little bit more in detail. Some of them have not had any exposure to it at all. So if you could make sure you dumb down your.
Absolutely. I'll do the high level stuff to get started and then, whatever questions I can answer for now, given our time. Certainly would be happy to do so, and then I'll hang out after and wait until the meeting's adjourned so we can have maybe a little bit more informal discussion. So just to give you a little bit of context about who EDP is, we are the state's largest owner-operator of renewable energy assets in the state to date. So we have over 1,400 megawatts of power that we generate primarily through our wind developments up in White County, but we just opened and launched commercial operations for our first utility scale solar park in the state back in January, all of which accounts to about $2.5 billion of infrastructure we've invested in the state. We are a nationwide developer as well. Across the country, we've built 58 wind farms and 9 solar parks totaling more than 8,000 megawatts, 8 gigawatts of power, which would power about 2 million homes. We are part of a larger global network of development. We are the North American subsidiary. We're headquartered in Houston with a large and growing Indianapolis regional office. And Indiana is one of the flagship states for our development. I am a native Hoosier, so it's a great opportunity to be able to do this as well. Before I was working with EDP, I was representing all of the RMCs across the state. So I've been down here working with DuBois County RMC and the folks at Hoosier Energy quite a bit. It's really great to be back down here. So just as, again, sort of a high-level overview of what we've done in the state, our primary development has been in northern Indiana. If you've driven up I-65 to go to Chicago, you've driven through one of our wind farms, our Meadow Lake Wind Farm. which is the nation's 4th largest. But we have been expanding quite a bit in our developments as Indiana has continued to foster and support renewable energy growth. There's tremendous opportunities here to make those investments, and we continue to look for new communities where we can do that development, including here in DuBois County. And that demand is driven not just by the utilities who are interested in bringing this power into their generation portfolio, and we're certainly seeing that not just between NIPSCO and ComEd up in Chicago, some of the bigger investor-owned utilities, but Hoosier Energy, who is the exclusive off-taker of our power in Randolph County, who you all I'm sure are pretty familiar with, who power the RMCs. So not just the utilities, but a significant amount of commercial interest as well. We have partnerships with Cummins, with Walmart, Facebook, Ameren, Nestle, companies that seek to purchase the value of this power generated in Indiana. And we're certainly seeing a significant amount of investment come into the state, not just from us, but from a number of developers as well. There's about 6,000 megawatts of projects currently under development or under construction. About 5 gigawatts of that, 5,000 megawatts of that is solar projects. And this would complement the existing about 4,100 megawatts of power operating in the state right now, primarily wind, but we're certainly seeing this shift. So to talk a little bit more about what we're intending, what we're hoping to develop here, it's a project we're calling our Duff Solar Park. It will be located just outside of Huntingburg in Councilor Hull's district. It's capital investment approximately $171 million. As part of that, we not just are working with landowner partners, but with community partners as well to make sure that this development represents something that the community wants to see. So we've had tremendous success working with White, Benton, and Randolph counties to date to host our projects. And as part of that, we have worked with them to negotiate economic development agreements. And I know this is something that some of you have had in-depth conversations about. But when we seek economic development agreements, we are looking to create opportunities to bring more flexible funds into the county and into local units of government in exchange for tax abatement. And there's a number of different mechanisms that have been utilized successfully across our development partners to do so, and continues to be one of the tools that we think really brings considerable value when we're doing these projects. So to talk just a little bit about excuse me, what we've developed in our partner communities today. So up in White County, we've invested over $1.6 billion of capital investment, which is translated to date in more than $25.7 million in cumulative tax and economic development payments. So on average, the economic development and property tax payments for that county comes out to about $2 million a year to date. We're continuing to work with them to develop develop new projects. So as part of those flexible funds, we've been able to work with the county to help address some high-level needs. These funds have been used to support the creation of a new active business park that's drawn considerable commercial attention to the county and was used in part as part of a financial incentive package to keep the local Indiana Beach amusement park open, which was going to be a considerable a considerable loss should it close, but through these funds, the county was able to work with a new prospective buyer thanks to the flexibility that they were given. Pivoting to Randolph County, which is where some of our newer developments have been located, those projects represent over $797 million of capital investment to date, and we are more new to that county. We've paid over $9.4 million in cumulative tax payments and economic development payments, with an additional $22.2 million committed through 2032. Part of those funds, again, have been utilized to make some significant investments in community support. Over $670,000 of that has been given to the local communities most impacted by our projects to address some pressing capital needs. Over $526,000 to support local schools. Over $315,000 to purchase new sheriff and first responder vehicles, and over $1.2 million used in low interest loans to support an engineering and grant writing support to make some critical infrastructure and sewage upgrades in that county for the communities that were most impacted by that. And to be clear, these are not the only investments that we seek to make. We also try to bring some additional resources to the table to show our interest in being a good neighbor and bringing more value to the project. So that can range across a number of different successful avenues we've seen. We've created over an endowment fund of over $360,000 in Randolph County to support local community initiatives. Over $300,000 to support local communities, especially through COVID, and then continue to work and find those opportunities to make those investments. Excuse me, lost my breath. So again, that's just a very high level overview, but wanted to make sure that we could introduce ourselves and open that line of dialogue. We know the county commission is continuing to work on a solar ordinance. You will of course have a part to play in that as well. So wanted to make sure that we were here and available to answer your questions.
Can you explain to me the large dollar amounts that you were talking about with the tax incentives and economic development money? Where does that come from? Like, explain to me how that mechanism works.
Sure. So typically we seek an abatement for the first 10 years of operation of the project. So we'll work with the county to get the value of the personal property taxes for the infrastructure that we use abated, not impacting the real property taxes, just the infrastructure that's on top. In turn, we then turn around and seek typically as close to a one-to-one exchange signed in an economic development agreement that we would pay annually, and creates a more flexible opportunity to spend those dollars versus the typical tax allocations.
So how does that work? I mean, it's like a wash for you then. It's a one-to-one.
We are able to kind of leverage the current value of money a little bit better, and are able to put some more current cash resources to support the project during the construction and early development of it. It does come out as a bit of a wash, but we do, look at this to be really a community investment and a sign of good faith and good negotiation that we want to make this investment and we want to be good neighbors. And we've seen it be a pretty productive meeting so far. Certainly not the only way to tackle this, but something that we have seen a tremendous amount of success in utilizing.
So you're looking for you prefer it to be a 10-year, 100% tax abatement?
I think it's pretty flexible. We're still pretty early in this, and obviously it's a longer discussion and a longer negotiation to figure out the best way to utilize this. We have actually signed or have negotiated more recently and have had the discussions about delaying the value of that abatement, especially for some of these counties that have pretty high values of EDA dollars coming in, to continue to prolong that flexibility into the next decade of operation. So it's something that we certainly are comfortable with, figuring out how best a community can utilize these funds and the structure in which we can figure out how to make that work.
So is a tax abatement, is that predicated on the project moving forward? I mean, if there's no abatement, is it done?
No, it's not done. It's not done. But, it's one of those things that we think can bring some immediate value to the table and help us build some relationships, build those opportunities to make those investments and demonstrate the value that these projects can bring to a community. But, we don't utilize abatements in every state that we develop. There's different state opportunities, different regulations that give us opportunity or prohibit us from developing in certain ways. Indiana is a state that does permit this, and to date, we've seen some pretty successful innovation on how to utilize these funds.
I'm still totally stuck back on where the funds come from. That
Sounds too good to be true.
for your one-to-one match.
Ben, are you federally incentivized? I mean, is there Fed money on your guys' end?
No, it's all primarily private investment. I mean, these are funds that we raise and leverage through our industry investment partners. And then the value of the project comes from selling the purchase power agreement or the build transfer agreement if an off-taker decides they want to just have the project wholesale. To your larger point, though, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
If you don't mind asking your question.
Well, No. I'm just stuck on how it's a wash. I mean, if it's a wash, then why abate?
Well, and I will be the first to confess, not a tax expert, right? But it's not always one-to-one, but we do seek to get as close to the value for a value that makes sense both for the county and for the company. That can obviously fluctuate based on the county's needs or interest in being able to negotiate these. But there is a value for us in being able to commit, contemporary dollars up front versus the value of having that tax and be subject to potential rate increases or things like that. Just the certainty of knowing the value that we're going to invest in the onset. Yes, sir.
You kind of said that you hedge your inputs, or you guys are gonna have plenty of source material. You can start the project and finish it. There wouldn't be like a run on nickel, cadmium, whatever, gold, lithium, and those things where supply chain issue would cause you to get partially finished and then, it's sitting idle.
Yeah, no, I mean, we are very fortunate. We have some tremendous partners, not just on the supply side, but in our procurement team who are able to navigate that. The industry at large, has recently gone through some supply chain issues. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the actions the Department of Commerce took to potentially retroactively place tariffs on panels, and we've seen some federal easing of that in the last couple of weeks or so. But no, I mean, we really, when we're set to construct these, barring some significant setback, we're on a timetable. We have the resources in place to get the project done and operational on our timeline because we have obligations to our commercial partners as well.
One other question I had, somebody asked me, and it's legitimate. Would you consider the panels responsibly sourced where you don't have child labor in a Central Asian country or Far East working in terrible conditions? I did have somebody ask me that. I said it's a good question because I read an article, not really just solar panels, but computer recycling. These they got little kids with soldering irons taking apart chip boards, and they're just inhaling fumes that shorten their lives. I'm not saying anybody's doing that in the solar industry. I just didn't know if you could say we're responsibly sourced, we have a good supplier, and meet these specs.
We supply from a lot of places. We do have, safeguards in place, both that exist at the federal level to ensure compliance with restrictions on panels made. I think the example that everybody wants to cite is China, and certainly where the lion's share of some of these materials come from. But yes, we do, as much due diligence as we can, and we comply with every, federal requirement that we have to make sure that our sourcing is responsible. And to your point about recycling, we're seeing this really become sort of a cottage industry as utility scale solar has become more economically feasible for these projects to take place. And we've had continue to have conversations with companies who are making investments in Indiana to be the place where those materials can be upcycled and recycled. When you think about how much stainless steel is utilized in this project, and that has tremendous value after a project would be decommissioned, not just in the racking system, but in the framing that contains the solar arrays. So not only are we really seeking to make sure on the front end that we're doing this in a responsible way, we're also looking to the next phase of what these things can be, and are working with Indiana partners to encourage that level of investment in the solar ecosystem as we continue to have these assets in place and figure out how to responsibly use them.
Well, speaking of decommissioning, so where they decommission power plants, they a lot of times have rolling blackouts. So in the local power supplier, the Rural Electric Corporation even kind of warned that this year. Do you think with this project could be the difference between a rolling blackout happening or not happening with the supplier you work with?
Yeah, it's well, I guess we'll take a step back. So we are a project developer. Our goal is to leverage those opportunities on the grid to put more electrons in place, right? We have the opportunity here because the substation near where we're going to build does have the capacity to do that. I certainly can't. So our hope is that this is going to be a stopgap, and we're making investments across the state in battery storage and new projects with wind and solar to make sure that we're bridging the gap as these projects go offline. And that, again, is one of the commercial drivers that really makes these projects viable, is that opportunity.
So, speaking about being decommissioned, as far as the landowners that you're working with, how long is your lease contract or I'm completely,
Yeah.
I don't know much about any of that. And, you know, when it comes to the end of the lease, like who's responsible for what's left on the property?
Absolutely. So our leases with our landowners typically run between 35 to 50 years, which is the expected life of the project. And we are working on some of our older projects now to repower them and, you know, create a new generation of generation. Probably should have thought through a better phraseology than that. But, you know, these projects can be extended. When they do go offline, though, we not only have in our leases provisions that, you know, financially safeguard against us going out of business or some sort of, you know, force majeure in place to make sure that those assets can be taken off and the ground can be restored to as it was before we took the project back. We typically do, and this is part of, you know, local regulations, but the counties that we've developed in to date have also put in place requirements that we post a bond with the county as well. We typically do that before commercial operations begin for the total value of the project. The Indiana legislature this session passed a legislation that the commission is using, Senate Bill 411, that does set out decommissioning standards for this, and we've encouraged them to take a look at that. But we will work with the county to secure the value of decommissioning so nobody's left with stranded infrastructure if and when that circumstance would happen.
Just want to make sure that the landowners aren't stuck with having to try to figure out how to.
Of course. I mean, it's imperative for us too, and that's part of just showing that, you know, we want to be good neighbors. This is not kind of a fly-by-night operation. We really value everybody that comes to the table and helps us, and we want to make sure that we're doing the same.
Who builds this? Do you bring EDP employees and they build? Do they stay here? Do you use local?
Yeah, to the best extent that we can. So we hire a executive contractor who oversees the construction, and then they subcontract like a typical, you know, construction project would divvy up those responsibilities. They are typically responsible for the hiring piece of it. We have seen a significant amount of repeat construction workers at our project because this is quickly becoming sort of a specialized field and does create great opportunities for us to develop a new workforce who's familiar with this. So to the extent that we can, you know, we are hiring as local as we can. Obviously, this is a community, I think, when last I checked, you know, unemployment was at less than 1%. So I think there's the amount of people looking for work in and around here is blessedly very low. But we do try to keep, you know, local folks as engaged as possible because we want to see as much expertise growing in this field as we can. So I can't necessarily say it's all going to be local. We certainly do try to bring as many people to the table.
So they come in and build and then they're going again?
It's typically
Nobody's staying here in the county?
the workers.
Yes.
No, well, no. I mean, if they're coming in from locally, you know, I'm not sure quite where they would go after that. We do see some groups travel around that have the specialized expertise and can go from project site to project site. They're typically on site and construction lasts about a year. At our 200 megawatt solar park up in Randolph County, I think at peak construction, we had over 750 workers on site. So it takes a considerable volume, which was created for those communities the opportunity to, you know, bolster their hotel revenues, their restaurant revenues, brings in a lot of opportunity to invest locally because we need to source parts, we need to feed our crews, all of that. We will hire a couple permanent positions here. I think that's still being worked out. So we do make an investment beyond just the construction. But we do typically see a lot of that movement come in for the construction and then, you know, move on to the next project, hopefully one of ours.
So is it possible that solar panels, you know, if it's a 30 or 50-year project, is it possible that in 15 years from now that the panels are more efficient, so you replace them?
Yeah.
Is that a standard more or less?
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing panels that are doubly efficient now. Up at our Riverstart Solar Park, we use what's called a bifacial panel that captures not only direct sunlight, but can capture UV rays off of the ground as well. That's not a technology that was economically feasible a decade ago, but because it is now, you know, we try to utilize that to the best of our abilities. there will be technology changes. We work to upgrade and make more efficient our projects as those, possibilities become more realistic. So who knows what it's going to look like? I didn't think we'd be able to capture off the ground a decade ago.
Sure.
Here we are.
So when were you hoping to start this? Was there a timeframe that you guys were looking at?
So I think our commercial operations are slated to begin in 2025. And we're hoping, once the commissioners decide how they want to regulate this, to work with them through the permitting regime they set up to get a project permitted to start construction next year. So, and we've got significant landowner participation already signed up. I think conservatively we're looking at the ballpark of 20 to 30 million in landowner payments over the life of the project. Are continuing to shore that up, but are at a point now where we've reached sort of critical mass to make this thing potentially a reality. So we're really excited about the prospect.
Councilman Cleaster and Councilwoman Haas and I got a real nice luncheon speaker. That's a county commissioner in Knox County. Did you guys get a project in Knox County?
No, we didn't, but I've heard some good things coming out of that county.
She's like a convert, so she's in coal country and everybody had coal mine jobs and she was against it, and by the time she's done talking, she's for abatements, proper zoning, and it's positive. So she was a good speaker. I don't know if I enjoyed listening to her, and she brought some points up that maybe not everybody would consider. On the fiscal side and the zoning side, she was really sharp, and I mean, she covered everything. So I thought it was a good thing to sit through, and she, like you, presented herself very well. So it was a good thing to see.
Well, I may need to get that name from you then.
Yeah. I mean, really, if you guys do other projects, she's a good person to contact, and I think Mike's going to contact her and do some things on zoning with her. So.
And we'd be more than happy. The councilors and commissioners, the local governments that we work with, continue to express their interest in sort of helping explain what they've gone through, because this is new for a lot of people. And so if there's anything we can do to be a resource to that, we've already been, I know a number of us have been in communication about putting materials in your hands to make a better decision. But whatever we can do to facilitate that, we're certainly interested in doing it. And I will say that we've been working with DuBois Strong quite a bit since last year, and Cole and his team have had us down to speak. We continue to figure out good educational opportunities to make sure that they're staying looped in as well. So if those opportunities present themselves too, please let us know. We're happy to come down and speak.
So, Bennett, I don't know, Sarah had brought down some presentation.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that was very good. And I think a couple of them reached out and said they did not receive that. I was hoping maybe you could get their name afterwards.
Absolutely.
Mailing address and maybe get it, or did it mail it auditor also, but.
That would be terrific. And again, my hope was that I could bring a little bit updated information to you, and unfortunately, logistics.
I mean, at the meeting I had with Sarah and Jennifer, I think with the commission, one of the commissioners, is very good.
Terrific.
I mean, and the packet I thought was very good. I don't know if you all received those.
I'm actually going to New Braunfels next week, so I'm gonna go check your place out and make sure it's.
Hey, let us know when, and we'll meet you out there. Yeah, whatever we can do, I'll make sure we get Sarah's presentation that she gave to you back over for your reference as well, and I'll include the materials I was citing today. We also would be more than happy to, show what other counties have been doing, what that negotiation process has looked like, because we do, we really are very committed to building in DuBois County, and we want to be as good a partner as we can be.
Sure.
To make sure that everybody understands what this thing is, and I think more importantly what this thing isn't, because I think there can be a lot of ideas
In this,
out there.
in this conference we were at, I mean, Randolph County was there, the speaker from them, and they had nothing really negative to say about your company. I'll just say that.
Well, we're certainly happy to hear that.
Because so leave it at that, I guess. So,
Of course.
Well, thank you
when
so
you
much.
talk about the benefits that Charmaine was referring to earlier about the tax benefits.
Yeah.
So did you have that going in as to maybe some estimates that the counties were going to receive? Or was it after the project is kind of going on, then you kind of?
No. Before we even start construction, we have all of these agreements kind of ironed in place, and we will, run those projections and figure that out. I think we're still in the process right now of doing that because we continue to, as we sign more landowners, the potential shape of our project site changes, and that can have some impacts on how those units are taxed. But yes, we will, do those projections. That will be part of the ongoing conversation as understanding the value of the tax being abated versus the value of the economic development agreement.
Okay, any other questions? Ben?
It's a lot to process, but I wanted to make sure we were opening the dialogue and I had the chance to introduce myself. We are tremendously excited to work with you. And I'll stick around after the meeting so we can maybe have some wild conversations. But thank you so much for the time. Really do appreciate it. Thank you.
We're running a little behind here with we got the recorder's resolution 2022-10.
Every year during budget time, the recorder submits an affidavit saying if she's got her expenses covered and if there's any extra money that can be used from her fund. So she submitted the affidavit and I sent that to y'all. We do this every year, so. And then there's an ordinance that says you can use those monies, and that's what I sent you, to pay expenses from her fund. The Recorder's Perpetuation Fund is a little different, that it does not require your appropriation to use, so she can spend it as she sees fit. So this is for you to be able to budget those monies.
So clarification, I guess, and I should know this, but I mean, in other words, when she comes at budget time, she'll have that money, that perpetuation money in her budget? Or are we
There's a
utilizing
fund,
some-
for every document she gets recorded at her office, she has a Recorder's Perpetuation Fund. So every document, part of that fee goes into that fund. There's several different funds, but this fund does not need your appropriation for her to spend it. So she's saying, by this affidavit, she's saying her expenses are covered. She's got extra in there, so you're allowed to use it to budget.
To budget.
So at budget time, she's gonna bring you a Recorder's Perpetuation Fund, and she's got enough to cover her expenses.
So it really helps the county general or whatever.
Right.
It helps us as far as budgeting.
Right.
Okay. So what do we wanna, except we have to approve the ordinance and the resolution, right?
There's only an ordinance. The affidavit just tells you that she's got money there. And then there's an ordinance that goes with it. Do I have a resolution? It's an ordinance.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wrote the wrong thing down. I wrote resolution and it should say ordinance.
Okay. So, I don't see, I mean, we did this last year, so I don't see personally, I don't see any issues with it, so I want to make a motion to approve this.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Becky's made a motion, and a second.
I'll second.
Sonia seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So, passes. Guess, looks like next on the agenda is the additional appropriations.
Okay. In the general fund, I'm requesting $1,000 for guess what? More plat books. We have maybe 20 or 25, maybe somewhere in that vicinity, approximately that many left from our original. Well, the original ones are gone. The second order, now we need more.
Merry Christmas to whoever's getting those, right?
Well, we think, we we may order 20 or 30 more and kind of do it. We have to do it at a minimum of 20. So we'd like to do 20 or 20, 30 more to get them just in case there is a thing at the fall
Yeah, right, hunting season.
collection season. And then, if we don't need them, but they do go, it'll go in spurts. This week we can sell 0 and next week we can sell 12. You just never know.
Any more discussion on that $1,000? Otherwise, I'll make a motion that we approve the $1,000 for additional supplies, additional plat books.
Second.
Craig seconded. All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed?
Craig seconded.
I
You-
made the motion.
Okay, I thought it was Charmaine.
And sorry if it was.
Good. We're all-
We do get money, for every book that sells, we are recouping all the costs, so
About money, the cost.
it doesn't really, it costs us up front, but we are recouping it.
And the funds go back in the general.
Goes back to the general. The highway restricted fund. I think Steve Berg was here talking about how supplies, they need more weed spray. They're spraying the weeds in the Johnson grass and the noxious, $5,500.
Again, on that, just a comment, just that restricted fund and non-restricted fund in the MVH. I think we had to sit through our long class just to learn the difference there, and I don't know if I can still completely understand it, but it's a really,
To tell them that they should just get rid of it.
yeah, that's a challenging thing. So anyway. Anybody got any discussions on this $5,500? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Charmaine made a motion, may I have a second? Sonia seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And Cume Cap Fund, the sheriff was here speaking last time about 2 vehicles, $148,000.
That would be a separate motion.
We made it a separate motion. We made the sheriff's cars separate from the park cars.
Okay, so I think we discussed that pretty thoroughly with the sheriff last meeting, so anyone would make a motion to approve that, $148,000.
I'll make the motion.
Sonia made a motion, you have a second.
I'll second.
Becky seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes.
I'll be one more white. You just have to-
The park vehicle, $8,000 from Cume Cap. The 4-H council and the county both own the vehicle half and half. They both split the cost. They did put up the money to pay for this one, so we have to reimburse half of it. The vehicle we got rid of was a 2003 GMC Sierra. It's in pretty bad shape. They did give us $1,000 trade-in on it. So the vehicle was $15,000, and so $14,000 was the cost, and so then we put in a little extra money because we didn't know for sure about the plate and if he wants to label it or anything like that. I don't know if he does or not. It's up to you all. But we are gonna owe $7,000.
Just a little background on that, I think when I was contacted, I checked, I know the Commissioner Brown said, he's on the TOCA board up there, he had mentioned that they had a lot of vehicles that they were gonna roll over. But I did talk with Merkel, I called him and talked about it. And he said they have ordered, but they won't give them a delivery date. Plus, you know, when we looked at this vehicle, it had such low mileage and in such good shape, he told me.
This vehicle had 26,000 miles on it, one owner.
Dang.
I mean,
What
it's-
year?
It's a 2006 Chevy. I forgot. It's a smaller, but it does have a cover over the back, like a hard cover over the back. It looks nice. When I went out to take the keys and everything to him, it was like, it's a nice looking vehicle.
So it came from,
Dealers.
okay.
I mean, like I said, we were trying to, maybe they'd give us one next to nothing up there, you know, because they're gonna
Yeah.
get rid of them. But he said they don't have a delivery date on their, you know, if they buy 10 of them, you know, they may buy a bunch of it one time.
26,000 miles on a, that.
It's a
vehicle?
burgundy-
That's unheard of.
It's a burgundy looking, so if you drive past the seal, it's nice.
Okay.
But
City
the
limits.
4-H council purchased it, so now it'll be titled and plated and everything to the county, but
Congratulate Bob on a nice ride, huh?
I think that Mrs. Hosner got that, or she found it.
yes,
She
the
found
4-H council, Janelle Hosner found it, and they approached the county about looking for one, and it just too good to pass it up, so
it.
they
It was a good find.
purchased
Yeah, it
it.
was. I think we can spray for 8,000 on that. What do you think?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
okay, I have a motion to approve the 8,000. Alex seconded, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
Yeah, he told me it's kind of too nice to put trash in. Okay, sanitation, solid waste sticker fund, the sanitation truck. There was an issue with it, took over a year to try to get it in, and they couldn't get the year they thought, so they gave us a 1-year newer model, and the commissioners approved changing it. They need an additional $2,930.
Any questions on that or discussions? Otherwise, I'll make a motion that we accept, approve that $2,330, $2,930, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Oops. Okay, the pretrial diversion program for the prosecutor. And prosecutor Quinn was requesting $10,000. He said he would like to provide additional training and equipment for law enforcement agencies within the county during the remainder of the year. They have expended a large portion of the funds on flock safety cameras in February, and with the monthly expenditures to contend, communications will be short $500 by the end of the year. He usually receives additional requests for equipment and training from other agencies. He doesn't have any specific requests currently, but he anticipates having some by the end of the year and would like to have money available for those purposes. That's from his letter. So pretrial diversion funds, or at his discretion, to use for other agencies for training and equipment. So I don't know what a flock safety camera is, but
I mean, was this so this is, he's got the money,
he's got it in his dedicated fund that he can use it towards other police. They get it on pretrial diversion citations. That's how that is funded.
flock safety?
It says,
I don't know.
he expended a large portion of the funds on the flock safety cameras in February.
Okay, so just for example, okay, in the 2022 budget, the equipment line item, we approved 26,500. So apparently, he's anticipating more.
And they can also do training, I mean, other, like he can help Jasper PD or Ferdinand PD or Huntingburg, whatever. He can help them with training as well with that fund.
So
It's
like the victim advocate is partially paid out of that fund. Part of the investigator salary is paid out of there, the summer interns paid out of there. And then the benefits for those people, supplies, citations for cities and towns.
Citations are when pretrial like if one of those other Jasper PD, I'm just gonna pick on them. If Jasper does a speeding citation and the person, instead of paying for their fine, chooses to participate in pretrial diversion, which is a higher cost, he gets money for this fund, but for the ticket, he'll give that agency maybe, I think it's $5 or $8 or something as well. And they do that twice a year. They pay them for their number of citations.
Postage and then equipment line item. If that helps.
I mean, it does explain a little better.
Sorry.
I did look up a flock safety camera. It says, don't watch crime solve it. 70% of crimes involved in vehicles. That's why we build devices that focus on vehicular evidence, including license plates and a detailed vehicle fingerprint. Once the police have potential suspect vehicle, they're more likely to clear cases, decrease crime rates, making your community overall safer. And then I saw something about like night vision and.
So it's a dash cam.
Sounds like
I
a
guess so.
Well,
in-car camera.
Our discussion when we came back, we're going up to the help grant, those little square things with the camera on them, that's what that is. It's got a
Yes.
picture of it.
Is that
Well,
right?
there you go.
There's one on the north side of Jasper.
Yeah, oh, okay, it's like solar panel.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now we know.
that's right, we talked about it.
We talked about it, we didn't know what they were.
Put it on the top of the Y as well, when you're coming in from Ireland. That's that. Okay.
Sorry, I should ask more questions. I just got an email.
I'm glad I know that, because I was, sorry. I don't know what that is.
So it is a camera, then who monitors that?
That we don't know. I guess we gotta talk to the prosecutor.
Prosecutor, all right.
I guess I can call him if you need me to call him.
No, not right now, but it's
They're already in place and
yeah, that's great.
I think some of those are the state. Some of those state cameras I thought they installed.
I don't,
I think I heard that.
Okay.
For sure. Though.
Well, I wonder if that's what he means by with our monthly expenditures to contend communications. So it must be a fee involved that they're paying.
any other
Should I ask
discussion
more
on this, or
all right.
what is that?
I'll make a motion.
Craig's made a motion to approve the $10,000. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Alex second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
We have an endowment from the Du Bois County Community Foundation for the courthouse fountain maintenance. We do have that fund. Every year, the endowment sends us a check to put into our fountain maintenance fund. And right now, there's an additional $4,965.75 in that fund that Scott would like to get appropriated. The fountain is got a small leak somewhere, and they're thinking they can come in and put a rubber lining, like a pool lining type thing on it, and that hopefully will stop the leak. If it's not in that, it's gotta be in the plumbing somewhere. So, he would just like to appropriate the entire fund amount that's in there this year and then expend it towards that project.
Any discussion on that? Otherwise, I'll make a motion to approve the $4,965.75 for the courthouse fountain maintenance.
Second.
Becky seconded, so I made the motion, and Becky seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Community Crossings matching grant. We were awarded the grant, we've moved the money, you did that before, at the last meeting. And so now we'd like to appropriate the entire amount in that fund so we can start spending it when Brent needs it. It's $697,150.52.
Any questions or discussions on that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve that amount.
I'll make that motion.
Craig made a motion, may I have a second?
Sorry.
Alex seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, I have 2 transfers. The Veteran Service Officer needed some more supplies. So she requested moving $105 from postage, other services, to office supplies. Well, like I said, $105.
From,
These are moving from one line item to another.
can you repeat where it's coming from?
Postage,
From postage?
which is an other service.
Okay.
To office supplies, which is a supply, $105.
Thank you.
Any questions on that? I'll entertain a motion to make the
I'll make that
transfer.
motion.
Becky made the motion, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Sonia seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
The Health Department is finishing up their immunization and vaccine supplemental COVID grant. It ends actually this week on June 30th. They have a couple of different transfers to move around so they can clean out that fund. From personal services, $18,809.83. And supplies, $11,344. To personal services is gonna get $3,140.60. I'll explain that in a minute. Other services, $1,038.74. And capital outlay, $25,974.49. So they took money from comp time, temporary nurses, temporary clerks, and PERF, and they put that in PRN nursing, which is nurses on call, and FICA. And then they also took money from supplies, and then they put that in other operating and in equipment. So they're gonna buy bigger equipment. So,
Any questions or discussions on that?
And I'm just assuming that that grant has the flexibility that they can make such purchases.
I know that they've submitted it to the state. These are state forms that they have to submit, so she has them on there.
So basically, that was unspent money from the grant in those line items.
In those line items.
Okay.
I could send this around, kind of, if this will help you. I mean, these are their these are salaries and benefits. Down here, supplies, other services, and capital outlay, and you can kind of see what's plus and minus. That'll help you. But they will not be reapplying for this grant, or they did not reapply, and we won't get it again, so.
Is that the one to help?
To be voted.
But we have to, let's look at this.
Oh, okay.
Let's take a minute to look at this.
We've just gotten so many grants that it's hard to remember what
Amen.
each one was for.
Amen.
Well, that's what we're trying to do on budget, work, that we're trying to get settled up so that when we look at it, we know
Yeah.
what's grants and what's not, because I think it's a little challenging to decipher.
Well, they just are starting, the one he spoke about earlier, that one starts July 1. That's a new grant.
Okay,
But
so
that's
the
just for an immunization clerk, or an immunization nurse, I'm sorry, nurse. This was COVID
So is there-
related.
Are there salaries coming out of that one?
Yes.
Is there someone employed by that one?
Yes,
I mean, are they,
mostly PRN nurses he's got on call.
okay. Because in my mind, I'm
Like I said, temporary nurses, temporary clerks, their staff comp time was a majority of it. But when you see the temporary, they were only hired temporarily to come in and give shots or.
and that's probably the lion's share of that has passed. So, yeah, they're very well staffed and keep up.
Does it make sense, Shelley?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, if there's any other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve that transfer.
Make the motion.
Alex made a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Jermaine seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
So Sandy, refresh my memory, okay, what's going into personal, what's going back into personal services?
Well, I thought about not putting those on there, and I thought it's just easier to ignore that. Okay, up here. The minuses are coming out, the pluses are going in, so PRN, he needs more money there.
Yeah. Well, what I'm just, okay, this is coming out of personal services, that's coming out of supplies, I can't remember.
There's not really a one-to-one match, it's just this total, and that it equals this total.
Just jotting down those numbers.
Let's see what I got. PRN is the nurses, yes, they go together in the same category.
3,100.
Right, I could have moved these around without your all's
3,000.
approval, but I don't like to move salaries around without you knowing.
She said y'all's. She said y'all.
I will do this specifically for your having.
At least she's not saying you
I
and.
said y'all.
She's not saying you.
Sometimes it just comes out.
It's okay, it's okay.
I've done this in other words, just so that the kids know. You get over here.
I just don't like to move salaries around without you knowing what's
Right.
happening. So. That's the end of my spiel.
Yeah, I think we were just wanting to have it'd be good to have just a little discussion on the budget preparations, and I'd like for you guys to jump into it. Speaking with Sandy a little bit, it's it gets to be a stressful day. It may not hopefully be as stressful as last year. We have to, I guess, set aside time on August 8th from 8 to 8 probably. That's about what it's taking. And I guess, I want to make sure it's all okay with you. I know a lot of kids are checking, a lot of the counties go 3 days, we can go, even they're smaller counties than us. but I think we do a good job. Sandy does a great job scheduling these people. You know, we have to stay on schedule. And I just wanted to hear comments from you all. As, you know, if anybody's got any comments.
It's a long day, but I'd rather take a beating once than twice, or even 3 times. Just my candid thoughts on that.
Very candid.
I know Doug always has school starting then. Whatever, I don't even know if he already has to take a day off or, I know he said something about that, but I just as soon get it all done in one day.
Like I said, I feel like, so this is our 8th year doing this, so it seems like it's been getting longer and longer all the time that's necessary. So at some point down the road, it might have to go to a day and a half or something, but I think this time we stay with a single day.
I mean, I agree too. I wanted to bring it up for discussion because it is, you know, it is a stressful, long day. Any comments on
I would rather get it done on one day.
it? Alex, I don't know if you said through this before.
Yeah, and it was fine. Yeah, I'm open to anything. The one day's fine with me.
I just request a couple of stretch breaks throughout the course of the day, however.
Put that in the calendar or in the schedule.
Well, anything after 4, you can do what you want. Before then, it's pretty tight. It's very tight to kind of give everybody time they need. And
Just stand over here.
now, I will tell you, Katie Shook, the coroner, is not available on August 8th, so I moved her to the July meeting to give her time when she was here. Other than that, I tried to rearrange the schedule to give people a little more time. If last year I saw like community corrections needed a little more, the sheriff needed a little more, so I tried to give them a little more time. And if they don't use it, then that frees up after it.
You know, we will have some wage narratives. I know that Soil and Water went to the commissioners. She has a couple of people that she's going to, wants to bump up over the 3% that we propose. I had spoken with, Sandy and Brooke over there this morning. We thought that, and you guys tell me if it doesn't, if you think it should go a different direction, but that the narratives would be handed out with, Marky would review all, and then they would be handed out with our budget book that we could go in and compare and make sure if we see something out of line. And I think with your suggestions are, some you also, that you're gonna highlight something that's out of range. I don't know if you brought that up to their attention. It would draw their attention to make the process, I feel, better. I mean, she acts like she could get them to us sooner, but without the budget book, I don't know if they, to me, they don't know if they make sense. So she's gonna have a hard copy of the narratives and, and with the budget book. So I mean, does that seem proper to you all? Okay.
Yeah, I like having something beforehand as opposed to just getting the book and being like in the way back, like 6 years ago. I was like, oh, okay, well, wonder what that's about. And then there's only just that little bit of time that they have to explain anything. I just like having more information early.
What we're doing, they're starting to come in. People are starting to give their budgets to us. So she's trying to get the book started on it. And anytime she has any kind of increase, any kind of change, she's asking them for a narrative. So as we get them, we'll get the book ready, we'll make copies, and we'll just get it all out to you.
I think that's a great idea.
I feel like we've been working on this thing for a long time. I feel like, don't we have a handle on this thing?
Well, but I mean, just to the
Are we
point,
missing something?
well, but to the point of industries locally, I mean, they're realizing that their salaries aren't in line with what, people are making wherever, they're losing people because they're making more over here, like just the nurses, for example. Because the hospital is increasing the nurses' wages, I mean, we're probably gonna have to look at that again. Not that we want to, not that sometimes our revenue I don't know if it's gonna support any additional increases in certain, especially big ones like that, but have to look at it, I think. At least consider it.
Now, I do have our budget, my budget meeting with the state is on the Friday before we meet on Monday. So hopefully I'll have some information. I know last year was after, so hopefully I'll have some, but we'll see.
That'll help if it's before.
I kind of keep prodding him to do that before, so.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Again, in our meeting with the EIC, you know, this seems like every county's got this same issue that we do, you know, inflation. You know, can't find workers, you know, I mean, it's not unique here. But I think again, I agree with you, I think we have to do the best we can. You know, we cannot do like, you know, some other competitor can do, because the private sector can do, they got a lot more ways of doing this. We only got so much tax money coming in.
Right.
And you know, we can't jump wages way high and be solvent in the long run. And it's not fair to the taxpayers.
But at the same time, I don't think it's fair to just say, well, we can't, and just not even
Right.
look at it. I think we,
Define ways of possibly helping them out, you know. So, just a couple other things I'd like to just talk about here. We got time. You know, again, I keep this health grant. You know, I think 4 or 5 of us went up. Craig and I, Sandy and Chad and Elmer. So I mean, with the city officials, the mayor there. It was a very good ceremony. You know, the lieutenant governor spoke. You know, we have to then start our classes, I guess, which is 3 days worth. You know, most of us are involved in that, so hopefully ways of spending. You know, spending this extra $1 million that we're getting from Okra. So that's it. Just wanted to bring it up. It was worth the trip. I think
how's the hiring process going for a coordinator?
They were interviewing on Friday, but I have not heard.
Yeah, Elmer invited me, but I wasn't able to come, so.
I said, you did,
Oh, you,
you asked on the info to Chad and Nick, and then Chad sent the info to Mayor Dean. And I'll agree on this person that, I mean, we did have 3 good candidates, different skills and all that, so, talked it through, and, you know, Chad went through each on and everything, so.
So, but I mean, did we offer the position to any of the 3?
It was supposed to, I believe, today,
Okay. I was just
to
curious
be
about
offered, but for that to come in line with the class, and July 11th, we can get somebody in so they can do that 3
are
days.
you gonna go to the class, Becky? Aren't you? Okay.
So I was kind of curious how that panned out, if that was gonna work out with the timing of the classes.
I think it's you and I and Chad. As far as the.
Oh, Sandy's going.
Sandy and-
Oh, I'm saying, I'm sorry.
I asked to have another person from my office.
So it should be, get our head full.
I think there's 10 spots.
I have to cut out early on the first day.
That's
They
right.
asked us for permission. I'm teaching like that.
So- I think it was good. I mean, so City of Vincennes and Davis County, I think with the 3 people, so it was good. Got to meet a lot of them, and so it was a good process. And then the state called county council meeting was Friday and Saturday. Sonia, Alex, and I attended. You know, I just run quickly through here the subjects we touched on is public health, opioid and mental health, solar and wind farms, ARPA spending, economic forecasts, you know, recession, that kind of thing, inflation, motor vehicle funding, which is MVH, that, you know, you guys know it all now, right? The MVH funding, you know, with the gas tax and stuff, how that comes back through the state and to the counties.
And then we have to split it 50-50 and have to use it on this and you have to use it on that.
Right. And that's why they were really talking against taking away the sales tax and or
Gas tax.
gas tax or head tax on, not head tax, less tax on gas or fuel. I mean, it would devastate communities like us, because we would not get that, we would not get any money. And the fund that'd be tough. Public safety 911, which I thought you, Craig, and that, there's a lot of changes going on there. That's an expensive ordeal also to run, and we're gonna face it here next year with a new console. And then we just had general discussions, we just walked around, took everybody's opinion on what's going on in different parts. And again, I think we have pretty similar comments like the rest of the counties have, inflation, how do you fund this, how do you fund the nurses, how do you find jailers, it's just, it's a tough time. There's two things here. I want to touch base here on the mileage, and I made a couple copies of this, and I think everyone got this maybe through an email. I don't know if there's anybody not see this structure on, and the state has a sliding thing here on fuel, how much fuel costs versus how much to reimburse personal mileage for mileage for personal use. Just what Gary was saying.
I think they update it every 3 months.
And again, talking to Sandy a little bit, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't think as a county, we want to go through here and change this every 3 months. That's not kind of what I want to do. So I just wanted your input. The statewide average right now is, is 40, what they're going to reimburse is 49 cents a mile. We're at 44 cents, per mile now. Anybody got thoughts there?
They're saying 49 for the last quarter. It must have been higher. And I bet you it's going to come down then because the gas is down a little bit from this.
You're probably right. But 49 cents did become effective on June 15th, right?
Right. So then, see, they change theirs every 3 months on what the quarter is doing, is the way I understand it.
So I wanted to see what your thoughts were, and I want to be fair, just like you're, he's probably, unless I'm mistaken, he's probably the one that uses his personal car the most, maybe.
Some of the
On the
nurses.
day
We
by
have
day.
some nurses that do.
Nurses use their personal bed.
But I guess my question there would be why, we got 3 pool cars, I'll call them, why would they have to drive their vehicles, personal vehicles that much?
That would be a
When we
question
purchased
for
3
Sean.
vehicles for them. And I'm just throwing that out
I think sometimes they, on their way home or something, they stop somewhere and then just go home from there.
I mean,
I don't know that
I'm
answer.
sure it's a little legitimate. I think as a council, we would want to encourage, if there is pool vehicles, that use them, instead of using personal vehicles.
I agree.
Because, it's paperwork for you, and you know what I'm saying with it.
I know, like for Gary, he even keeps his supplies at home a lot, because, if he's going to gas stations one day, he's got his huge, weights for that, and then the next time he goes out, he goes to the pharmacy, and the scales the weights are that big, so.
Again, I'd like to maybe, it was 2008 since this has been changed.
June 23rd, here's the minutes.
And I know at that time, we kind of talked about it, researched a little bit. Fuel was up. I don't know exactly the reason but the fuel was up and then it came down. So, it's probably been more generous the last few years. But it doesn't, the article should be, I don't really see fuel going down a great deal with the price of oil. That's, at any time shortly. So, we could review this every year if we want to. I got any comments or, some kind of suggestion to move forward?
Well, my only other thought is, I don't think we need to base it solely on the reimbursement solely on the gas price. I mean, vehicle costs are persistently much higher than what they were,
Good point.
14 years ago.
Excellent point. Same way
You know,
with,
so
in-
it's-
same way with insurance.
Right, I mean, so it's not just the gas price that, people are, it's the wear and tear on their vehicle, the extra mileage they're putting on it.
Tires, oil changes.
Right, I mean, tires are out of this world now.
I would be for the 49 cents of but the federal rate's higher, so, yeah, quite a bit higher.
It's
So,
50, 57, 58, something like that.
The federal, it's up to 62
Somewhere in
now.
Up to 62 now.
Okay, see, I didn't even know that.
So I think that's more than fair with the cost of everything. If somebody's driving their own personal vehicle.
It's a nickel more a mile. Alex, you got any comment on it? You use a lot of fuel in your operations.
Yeah, so I've been on council less than 2 years, and I've seen oil futures trade from a negative number, which happened, to $130 a barrel, so it's volatile as can be. You almost gotta review it every year, and then one question I got going forward, when everybody has an electric vehicle, how do you compensate? And just, do they still get compensated the same way, or how's that gonna work?
Should they give us back money?
Maybe we should have been it, I don't know, but,
That is a question.
It's an extremely volatile, I don't know, who knows where it's going. But like they said, there's more costs than putting petrol in your car, so. I don't know that we pull it back though when stuff goes down, or if it does, it's like, does anyone ever do that, go backwards? I guess
Yes.
sometimes they do.
Federal does every year, they
Do they?
go up and down all the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so.
I mean,
I
that
think
changes year to year, and
no more-
occasionally mid-year.
The only thing that would concern me is during budget time, if you don't tell people and you raise it extremely high, they won't have enough in their line item, so you'll have an additional appropriation coming to you because they won't be able to afford what they have.
So it would have to be, make
Like
the
a
decision,
June
like,
meeting for
well, I mean, like-
effective July 1.
well, with the
And
raise,
that's
just
what.
included with the raise discussion.
Well,
Yeah.
like I'm saying, right now, if you raised it today or July 1, they may not have enough to get them to the end of the year. I don't know. You'd hope they do, but you don't know.
But this is when.
But this is the time to really do it.
It could be a transfer though, I mean, they could still have the money in their account, they could transfer it out of one thing or the other.
Yes.
You guys wanna make a comment or anything, which way you wanna go, or
I think 49 cents is,
to match the state?
Yeah.
Are they 49 or 49 and a half?
It says 49 on this email I got,
I didn't know. I thought somebody said 49 and a half, so I didn't know.
unless I'm reading this wrong, rate will change to 0.49 per Vermont.
The federal was 62. Maybe that's where the half came from.
I don't know.
So I think you have a resolution that we could pass tonight.
I do. Greg worked this up this afternoon because we did not do it by resolution. In the past, it was just done in the minutes, but he felt like a resolution was cleaner and easier to find and to amend. Resolution of the County Council of DuBois County establishing the mileage reimbursement rate, whereas the DuBois County Commissioners of DuBois County, Indiana adopted the county's personnel policies handbook on December 19th, 2016, and the same became effective January 1, 2017. And whereas the handbook as amended sets forth that mileage reimbursement will be at the rate established by the county council. And whereas the County Council of DuBois County, Indiana may establish the mileage reimbursement rate from time to time based upon the current economic environment for the county and its employees. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of DuBois County, Indiana that the mileage reimbursement rate established by the county council shall be set in the amount of blank cents per mile. All other provisions contained within the county's personnel policy handbook as amended related to business travel shall remain unchanged and are further affirmed herein. Number 3, this resolution shall become effective on July 1, 2022, and upon completion of any other legal requirements, all in the manner as provided by law. Number 4, the resolution may be amended from time to time by action of the County Council of DuBois County, Indiana. Adopted today.
So it sounds like everybody's on board with the 49 cents. That's what I was thinking. I'd like to follow the state. And I think it's just like him, if Gary has to complain to us, I don't think that's really fair. If he's losing, breaking even, losing money a little bit, that's not really fair for his wear and tear. So I'm gonna make a motion that we approve resolution number 2022, increasing the mileage reimbursement rate.
I'll second that.
I made a motion, Craig seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you, I think that's fair to the employees.
I think it'd probably be good if we did it every June.
Yeah.
That seems like
We
a,
could review it.
yeah.
And the state website does say 49 cents a mile.
I think on your comment, that it's hard to roll back. It seems like history tells us it doesn't go back. But
I don't think I just complained when it was higher.
No.
What we'll do is, anything as of June 30th, we'll do the old rate. July 1, we'll do the new rate.
And that's actually a current mileage, right?
Yeah, they can't turn it
They
in
can't.
July. and
No,
June.
it's the date you drove it is the date you're gonna get paid.
Okay.
If you drove June 30th, you're gonna get paid the one rate. If you drove July 1, you're gonna get paid the other rate.
That's fair.
Can't just hold it till July to make more money. Sorry, doesn't work that way. And that's why I really don't want you jumping up and down, because we'd have,
Not close.
Right. Keep track of it. Yeah. It's just,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm just trying to be respectful to
what's
the
that?
process. If Bennett wants to talk more, should we not close the meeting? So it's still staying on here, or
Oh,
what?
yeah.
I mean, is that not correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
not unless 4 of you, 3 of you leave.
Okay, the last thing I had, this is a tough one for me to bring up. I sat into I listened to the commissioners meeting on the VSO. Susan Grant, great person, and her and Kevin
Hinton
came in and spoke to the commissioners about, her, the work she's been performing, and the, all the, I think Gary, the previous VSO, had, got a lot of things moving here in the county, and so I just want to make a statement, and then I want you guys to, I just want to talk about it, because what happened, the commissioners created a full-time job for her in that position, and we have to offer all benefits, which includes PTO, PERF, and health insurance. She may not take health insurance, but she would leave. The next person is eligible for it once we create this position. So I just want to, they wanted to, she needs more hours, and what her thoughts were is possibly maintain the 3 days at the VSO office, and then she wants to possibly do paperwork and that kind of thing in the office, or go out and visit with veterans if she needs to, the other hours, the other days. So, I mean, it all makes sense, but I want to hear your comments, but, I'm going to make a statement. I'm a veteran. We all love our veterans. We want to do all we can for our veterans in the county. We want to have DuBois County a veteran-free county. A friendly county, I'm sorry. So the discussions I want to have is, as a council, I want your thoughts on that, you know, because we will be there, we will have office hours won't change.
Can we back up real quick? What are the office hours and how many hours is that position currently working?
Currently, the office is open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 to 4. There's no lunch hour in there, so it's an 8-hour day.
Okay.
Is what she was telling us.
So 24 hours
So that's all she's scheduled for is 24 hours.
for the week.
Okay, so the commissioners approved for a 35-hour work
Correct.
week. No change in the scheduled hours that are.
Well, we did talk about a lunch hour, how she should have a lunch hour.
Okay.
There shouldn't be no lunch hour in there.
Right, okay.
So it's-
But no change in the scheduled days. You know, the, like.
Well, they're
Monday through Friday.
It would be Monday through Friday.
the thought was be closed on Monday and Friday to the public, and she could work without having
People coming.
traffic.
Gotcha.
And that would include her going to the meetings at the VFW and the Legion and all that.
I assume that.
I think so. I didn't hear.
They didn't really go into all
say
those
that.
detail, but
Commissioner Brown's question to her, you know, which I thought was very good. Are you in here asking for this to have a full-time job? Are you looking at having, to get the job done, the hours needed to get the job performed? And her answer was that she wanted the hours to get the job performed.
Okay.
So it wasn't like she was coming in here wanting the fringe benefits, I guess I should say. So, you know, I know the commissioners had a pretty long discussion that they did vote, and they said, well, go to the council and get it approved, you know, so.
well, it kind of started, she asked me, how do I go ahead and budget for a full-time position? I said, you got to get commissioner's approval first, because you can't prepare a budget for you all if it's not created. So that's kind of where it started. I mean, with why she went last week.
So they just need more hours for people to accomplish the tasks.
Mr. Hinton had a spreadsheet of the cases and the numbers and the hours that our county has versus other counties.
Okay.
So with this then, we're not talking about hiring another part-time person.
That is, my understanding is at this time, that's off the table. And she would think she can handle it.
Well, I like that better than having,
Better than 2 part-time.
yeah.
Really?
I guess I'll just give you my thoughts on that since we're talking about it. I'm concerned of you know, I guess our history right now of the VSO. You know, we've had a turnover of what, since I've been here, 3 people. I'm concerned about that you train someone, they leave, or issues come up that they can't work, or, you know, you know, I thought, myself, I just feel in some ways it's better to maybe have another person as an assistant that both people, we got this Hinton that comes up and trains every Tuesday or Thursday, whatever it is. You know, that we could get 2 people trained.
You need in there, Alex.
You know, you want me to wait, Alex?
I'll go ahead, I'll be right back. Use the restroom real quick.
Two part-time people,
Yeah.
you're saying?
You know, give her the hours if it's, I mean, I just calculated 4 days and 7 hours, which would be, you know, still give her, you know, 8-hour day, give her an hour for lunch, would be 28 hours. So, you know, then she wouldn't be full-time, she'd be part-time. If we could hire another person for 16 to 20 hours a week, you know, then we could keep, so when lunchtime comes, one up, they can alternate lunch hours, they can do a lot of things.
Or if she's sick or something,
Vacation.
yeah, there you go, take vacation. that it's not unmanned for days on.
So then we'll find out if truly she wants full-time with the benefits.
Well,
Then she's
so she was
satisfied,
hired though
right?
for the part-time, right?
Right.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the intent of it.
Then we increased her pay last month. It's just something that I'm just concerned again. It's tough, just like the EMA, and to have one person run an office,
Exactly.
that's not really the best way to do it, in my opinion.
I mean, like, just thinking of the surveyor and the weights and measures, I mean, the things that they're doing can kind of wait, you know? I mean, if you don't get up and survey a property for a few days, it's not
Right.
usually.
Weights measured isn't there's not, it doesn't appear like there's a lot of people that come in and see him.
He goes and sees them.
He goes
Yeah.
out, I mean,
Yes.
you know, so if he wants to take a week and not work, he'll just do more the next, you know, spread it out over the next coming weeks.
And he does that, he takes vacations, you know, because he can catch up.
He actually talked to the commissioners about flexing his hours, like if this week he could work 29 and then next week be off a day or something.
Thinking of the VSO, it's hard to say posted hours and then
Not be
And
available.
then you're closed, yeah. And especially if she does go out, then somebody can still be at the office, like they just say there is something during the days that the office would be open and she wants to go out. And at least somebody else is going to be there and it's not gonna be, oh, well, they're closed again.
Yeah, but we've had that forever.
Right, but people don't like that though.
Well, they don't, and that's why I've always wondered. I thought it's interesting that it's coming up now, because before we had many more veterans. We have less and less veterans on. So, I don't know.
That's a good point. That's well said there, yeah.
I don't see, I mean, personally, I don't see anything wrong with trying two people and to see how it can function. And if it turns into something more, you know, then we could still go with the full-time person, part-time person. I hate to see it go the other way. I hate to see it in something. You know, then we're sitting there, something happens, and you know, we all are, when you give someone 17 PTO days, they're gonna be off. They're gonna use them up.
So, I guess what my other question is how many hours would she actually need, you know, to do the job, to complete the tasks? You know,
Has she been at the job long enough to even know?
I mean, is it more training time?
well, I mean, is 35 too much? You know, like a whole 35-hour week? She's got 24 now. I mean, would another 4 hours being paid in the office to complete paperwork or requests or whatever, is that sufficient? I don't know. I'm just asking a question.
So I don't know that she would have to answer that, but you know what? I mean, your skill level actually goes up when you're there. You know, you're gonna be able, you know, she mentioned how long it takes her to do one applicant. You know, but you're gonna get quicker at that as you do it, you know. You're gonna learn shortcuts and I don't know, I mean, the reason I brought it up tonight is you know, she's planning for her budget and, you know, she's got, you know, I think we need to decide what we want to do as a, you know, financial agency to fund this.
Did the commissioners?
Go ahead.
Oh, did they?
That's scary.
Did the commissioners talk about having 2 part-time people? Was that, I didn't watch the meeting, I wasn't here, so,
Well, on the,
or were they just?
on the agenda, that was the subject.
Okay.
Another part-time person, but then when it came, I was kind of set back because it was a full-time job.
Going on those lines of what did the commissioners approve?
A full-time position for 35 hours with all benefits.
Because a month or so ago, Jan was really pushing the 2 part-time. So I didn't know, because I didn't watch it either, and didn't get a feel for where Susan was, you know, what she was thinking.
So I guess we can make that decision at budget time, I guess.
I guess, I feel like, a way to improve it, the way it's been doing is, instead of a full-time, why not have 2 part-timers? I feel like that's improving the office in my eyes right now. I think that would be a positive thing.
Any other comments? Alex, you want to make a comment or Anya?
I mean, I can see it both ways. I just hope we can retain an employee, and I hope, you know, I don't know, I don't have a tally on a benefit package, but I know it's probably more than a second part-time employee, but I just hope she stays and is able to do her job efficiently. If, well, obviously she'll have help with a second part-time person. I really don't know. That's, you guys know a little more about that position. I don't want to say too much. Go with what you guys are thinking on that.
Would the second part-time person have training also?
Yeah, we train, you come to.
Well, currently, Mr. Hinton, he's coming down every Tuesday is what he said to the commissioners. He's here every Tuesday helping, training her.
So the part-time person could also be trained to help with paper, like filling out that paperwork and also?
And he made the comment that he helped train Amber, he helped me train Bob, you know, he's been helping all of them, Gary, so I'm sure he'd be available to help.
I don't think like it sounds like a bad idea to have 2 people that could, you know, like if she's out or sick or, you know, whatever, just help processing the paperwork if there's 2 people to help process.
Sandy, do you find out if somebody calls in sick and the office isn't gonna be open, if somebody call you? Or somebody in county government that the office is open or not open?
They haven't been.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't know the door was locked for 2 or 3 weeks until people came in and complained. Because when they can't reach them, they come to us.
And did Mr. Hinton say we're behind on paperwork or things are on time or did he say anything?
I don't think he technically gets involved in the private cases. As such, he helps with the training. So I think our VSO, you know, it's our county people. And, you know, I mean, we want to give them all everything we can, you know. It just seems like, we made the comment that, you know, when we go from 3 days, you know, working this, and now all of a sudden we need 5 days, and then we, you know, that's why I would really like to see it play out a little bit better before we throw more money at it, I guess I should say.
How long has she been there? A couple months?
Maybe not.
Couple months.
Because that's a position they don't report anybody. We don't know how good the paperwork is or how good we're handling the cases.
I mean,
We don't hear
I guess
that.
Mr. Hinton would be the one that would know if he's her regional.
Because you know, we're like, okay, so what if we add all this extra? I mean, have to keep tabs on it somehow that it's accountable.
Either full-time or another part-time, either way.
Now, we do have the endowment, the Rudolph Endowment did give us money for the monument and for service support for that office. So you could do something with that. It's not a lot of money, but we get, I think it's 10, 11, 12,000 a year, somewhere in that park. We've only gotten, we've gotten the big chunk and then we got one, so it's hard for me to give you an average. But it is for that support of that office. Because I think we fixed the monument for a few years now.
Looks good, by the way.
It looks great.
So, we don't have a full, you know, council board here tonight. I mean, what if, I wanted to discuss it and maybe you guys could start thinking about the feedback to but you know, there are pros and cons to it, I definitely. The thing I don't like about it is, I'd really like to see somebody maybe possibly if we could stay in the office hours, you know, if we could move her up to 4 days and she could still have, you know, maybe she could get more work done or you keep it at 3 days and have her an extra day, but like we say, we lock the door and they see lights on in there, they're gonna be upset. when, you know, a veteran, so he's gonna be said, so. You know, we have to try to service them, and they're the ones that need. So, I mean, we could just bring it, maybe put it on the agenda and have Susan come next, the July meeting. And we could, try to get more input, you guys kind of put some feelers out, and, you know, see what your thoughts are. But, you know, to say, that it's a full-time job, you know, the hours is what is more valuable than just, you know, if we can make her 28 hours and someone else 16 or 20 hours, I think we're adding really more than the 35 hours that, you know, that a full-time person puts in. It's, again, these are
Whether
just,
that's needed or not,
pardon me,
and whether that's needed or not, if all those hours are needed. Now I can see, because I know Gary was talking about he couldn't get to the evening meetings at the VFW and the Legion, and he was doing health fairs and stuff on Saturdays and stuff.
I mean, that was always complete years ago, I think, all those extra things that are expected but aren't really reimbursed.
Don't get-
And paid for it. And even if that part-time person could do some of that, just
Yeah.
to.
yeah, two people, right.
If they could work it out that
That's a great
somebody's attended and still keeps the hours that's necessary. So.
to keep the office hours, but maybe do this.
Yes, yeah.
It's
Like
kind of,
if she goes to one thing of an evening, then she doesn't work those several hours during the day, and the other part-time person takes that spot, or vice versa.
that's how Soil and Water did it, you know, the meeting was full-time, she would go and set up for meetings and do things, or, you know, now it's a full-time job, but you know, she would set up for meetings and be paid comp time or whatever, you know, on the office, not comp time, but alternate time.
Because I'm assuming if she goes to meetings, to the different legions and stuff, I'm assuming most of those are in evening time that I'm aware of.
Some of them, yeah, most of them probably, also veterans can attend. So is that enough discussion? You know, I mean, it's something that's hard for me to talk about because I want to do everything I can for the veterans, but we also got taxpayers that we have to look at.
And then we give her another month under her belt to, you know, to see what the routine is.
Because, I mean, the position wouldn't become effective till January 1. So, I mean, you know, I mean, she's gonna have a big field, but,
Okay.
and maybe,
Yeah, I did.
Now, if you guys would want to use the other supplemental fund, it would be an additional and a salary amendment. So it could be this fall if you wanted to bring somebody in 10 or 15 hours or whatever a week.
and that position would have to be created, right,
Yes.
by the commissioners. So we don't have that part-time position. So it's kind of a big couple balls in the air here, so.
It'll help when she comes in and we can talk more.
Ask
So
her
could-
questions.
Could you maybe,
I'll do that.
really, I believe, public comments, we don't have any public, so, next meeting is July 25th, 4:30. Anybody have any other issues we're going to discuss?
I will not be here next time. I will have, I think Brooke or Lynn, or maybe both will be here, so.
How's your new person doing?
How's
your new person doing?
Doing well, catching on very well.
Does anybody, I guess for Bennett here, does anybody else have any questions for Bennett besides, you know, maybe getting have your mailing address to send that pamphlet out? That I think that's really worthwhile seeing because they have illustrations of, I think, Randolph County, you know, the economic development money, I believe that's in there. It gives you a better idea if you haven't gotten one. I thought she passed a couple of them here on that day, but maybe I'm wrong.
It was after our meeting, so I was gone already.
So, well, I mean, if we don't have any other questions besides that, I don't know, there's no use carrying on a meeting, so.
I move to adjourn.
Second? Do we have a second? Okay. Alex seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's close the meeting.
Nice, there it is.
Oh,
God,
the
official.
Damn.
Dang.
Thanks for letting me come in and speak my little piece.